If he had that much of a problem with it, he could have brought his own food. Idiot. He literally says in the post that he basically lied to the kid and told him there wasn't going to be Indian food there. Did you read the post? I have a hard time telling if brother-in-law is super racist or if he's just a little racist because he doesn't like the food? Because he doesn't like Indian food? He's a racist? I'm going to blow a gasket here, man. This is what I don't like about Reddit, is how over the top people are on this. They just go to the most extreme possibility. Your dad sounds like he might be an abusive piece of shit. And I definitely think you should call the police. Let's start. Am I the asshole for wanting to go on a guy's trip as a gay man? Well, off the top of my dome, I'm gonna say no. I don't see why that would make you an asshole, for sure. I, 21 male, am in a friend group with 4 other guys. We plan to go at the end of this month on a 3 days guys trip together without any of our partners. All the other guys from my friend group are straight as far as I'm concerned. Most of them have girlfriends currently. One of my friends, let's call him Antonio, 22 male, has a girlfriend. Let's call her Gina. Well, Gina wasn't happy to find out about this guy's trip she wasn't invited to, and she found issue with me being invited on the trip over her, outright asking her boyfriend why I was invited instead of her or any of the other guys' girlfriends. When everyone told her because this is a guy's trip, she said that she doesn't find it fair that a gay guy is allowed to go alongside them and not any of the girls. I was perplexed and asked her what the fuck did she meant by that, and she said that I know exactly what. I said that I don't, and asked her if she seriously thinks I'm gonna have sex with the other guys on the trip. But she just said that she didn't mean like that, and she just didn't find it fair her boyfriend wouldn't invite her on this trip. Honestly, I was completely done with her by that point, and just got up and left the conversation. So dramatic. Well, apparently Gina and Antonio kept arguing over this issue, and now Antonio's asking me if I would reconsider dropping out of our guys' trip because me being there is causing issues in his relationship. I told him that he's being ridiculous to try to kick me out of this trip over his girlfriend's weird insecurity issues, and thankfully all the other guys back me up on this. Well, now Antonio is saying that if I'm going, then he might have to drop out of the trip instead, because according to him, he has too much of a good thing going with Gina and he'll risk losing it, which I found completely absurd, especially when the trip's location was a place he really wanted to see. Absolutely nothing inappropriate was going to happen on this trip. Am I the asshole? Well, the answer is no, because you didn't really do anything at all. This is between them. They're the only ones that have a problem with this, and it seems to not really have much at all to do with you. Now, if I was this guy, I would be pissed off if all of the friends were like, yeah, you should maybe it's not appropriate for you to come, but it seems like it's just this dude who's worried about his relationship because she's being weird about it. I don't know. I mean, if we really want to deconstruct this, you could be yeah, you could say, okay, if a gay guy is allowed on the trip, why wouldn't the girlfriend be allowed on the trip? And I think technically that's a fair question. Why can't she come along? But not because I guess it's not because the gay guy is coming on the trip. It's just you're asking to go on a guy's trip, and you're being kind of stingy about it being exclusively guys, but they're not really being much of a reason for it being exclusively guys, except I guess that you don't want to bring girlfriends or significant others. I guess it'd be a different question if it were if you were bringing a boyfriend, you know? And then it's well, why can't I bring my girlfriend? Then the question I think would make sense. Then it would be yeah, he should be allowed to bring his girlfriend if you're bringing your boyfriend. I'm going on too hard of a tangent here. Deconstructing it, okay, a little bit. I'm sure Reddit's going to have a perfectly sane response. Not the asshole. Antonio can drop out. He's the one with the homophobe for a girlfriend. See, it's just the most extreme thing to say is The girlfriend, she's a homophobe. If his good thing is so important, then he can stay home and reassure his GF. Whatever it is, he needs to reassure her. These guys are crazy, man. They just sit in their computer chairs, just getting all dramatic about everything. Listen, if you disagree with somebody, they're the worst possible version of a person that you could disagree with. That's how the internet works, right? Oh, somebody says something about a gay guy. He's homophobic, and he's probably a Nazi. All right, let's move on. Am I the asshole for making things uncomfortable during my dad's engagement dinner? I mean, from that title, possibly. My dad is a serial cheater. Ooh, starting off strong. He cheated on my mom a lot during their marriage, and it came to light after she was diagnosed with brain cancer 5 years ago. Mom found out when she was already terminal. My dad's answer to this was to run away to his, at the time, affair partner's house, leaving me, 16 female, who was only 11. But you are now 16. Why are teenagers posting on this? You stop. You don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be going online and being like, hey, I'm a 16-year-old girl. Please stop. Don't post on Reddit, okay? My sister, 15 female, who was only 10, to fend for ourselves and take care of mom. He then tried to get his way back in for my mom's last few weeks, and she somewhat gave in for our sakes because she was worried we'd hate him if she didn't. But then when the end came, he was with his affair partner. When mom was gone, we refused to live with dad and his affair partner. We told dad we were not going to let him act like nothing bad happened. There was no way we wanted his affair partner to be our new mom. Okay, first of all, this all sucks, but like you don't have really any control over that. To be honest, to be fair, they would just be your, they're still your parent. They still have like ownership over your your future for now. I think legally, it's unfortunate, but you don't have any say over like, oh our dad cheated and we don't like him, so we want new parents. It's not how it works, unfortunately. We ran away from home to get our way? Is this a real story? That's already sounding really dramatic. Ran away from home and went where? To get our way, and CPS got involved and decided we should live with our maternal grandparents, CPS being Child Protective Services. I kind of need more details about running away from home. Because why would CPS get involved in that case? Just because you ran away from home? It's not really... Would CPS get involved in something like that if just because you ran away from home? It's like the police would, like, try, you could put out, like, a missing person, like, run away, and then they'd find you and they'd bring you back home. But I don't think CPS would get involved just because you ran away. And decided we should live with our maternal... This is not real. No, this is a fake story. Because there's no reason for them to, like, take you away from the father. Absolutely not. He didn't abuse you or anything. You just don't like him because he cheated on your mom. But he's not, like, there's not a good reason to remove him from parentship. Legal guardian. He has to literally be, like, abusing you or something. But our dad was given visitation rights by the court, so we have to see him one Saturday and one Sunday a month. Not over. This story's not adding up. Not at all. Dad and his last affair partner were on and off for a few years. We found out one of her kids was actually his, and that kid is 6 now. She has an 8-year-old as well. Who cares? Is any of this relevant? So there's messy stuff on her side, too. We don't see or interact with them ever. Okay. Then his affair partner are now engaged, and they wanted an engagement party with family and friends, and Dad insisted we had to be part of that. It happened on Saturday. Dad made us use the engagement dinner as our visitation with him, but we tried to fight against it. So we went, but we weren't happy, and during the dinner, Dad and his affair partner were talking about how excited they were to bring the family together. His affair partner was saying she was so excited to officially be our parent and to have us come closer. This doesn't make any sense. He says he has visitation. They were saying how it was the most wonderful time and stuff. Then my sister and I started saying it wasn't for us, and sarcastically said how we couldn't wait to be a family with Dad's affair party he was seeing all throughout our mom's cancer, and who he chose to be with when his wife was dying, leaving his daughters alone with her dying mom because he didn't even call our grandparents to tell them it was her final few hours. We also brought up how he had fathered the 6-year-old during his marriage to mom. I feel like to literally anybody in the family that, they are saying, like, the immediate families know, but not the extended family. But, like, it seems like this would be pretty obvious to anybody that knew this couple that, like, they basically immediately got together after the mom dies, the biological mother of these two kids. And not only that, but these two kids have somehow been removed from ownership of the parents to stay with the grandparents. Like, obviously, they would know there's some animosity there or some weird reason for that. And if that was the case, I don't know. That part doesn't even make sense, It's not like you can just be like, oh, I don't want to take care of these kids, so like my parents pass them off to the grandparents, and the grandparents are now like legally responsible. But okay, that's cool. And yeah, you get visitation. You can visit them whenever. Like, why would the court have anything to do with that decision in any way? It doesn't make any sense. It's just wrong. See, this story is just completely fabricated. I don't know why I sat here and read the whole thing. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Am I the asshole for serving Indian food even though my brother-in-law asked me not to? This is going to be one of those situations where people are going to be like, yeah, they're racist for not being okay with Indian food. First of all, Indian food is delicious. I think a lot of complaints that people have about Indian food, and some people will argue this is very racially charged, but is that Indian food is very aromatic. And in that way, it's kind of overpowering when you have somebody that is eating Indian food. And some people will probably like it, some people will probably not, but it is one of those things that bothers people sometimes. First things first, I'm not Indian. I was born in Bangladesh and moved to America with my family when I was in primary school. I've been with my wife for a while and get along with her family relatively well, except for her brother. Overall, I'd say her little brother is extremely spoiled and entitled. He's 20 years old, and I swear he has just no ability to understand other people. My wife is white. My wife is white. Important information. It's Ramadan. And my parents invited my wife and her family over for iftar, which is when we break our fast, and then dinner afterwards. This is done strictly at sundown, which is around 7:30. Although I'm not very religious, I do fast, and my wife usually fasts with me. I told her family the details of everything, including the food. We served exactly at sundown. There will be 2 meals when it's sundown, and then another one about an hour later, which is the proper dinner. Leading up to it, my brother-in-law texted in the family group chat, which includes me, and asked me not to make Indian food. I responded with, that shouldn't be a problem. I won't be cooking Indian food. The way I see it, this was a true statement in every way. Indian food would not be served, and I would not be making it, since my mom would be the one cooking Bengali food. And I also just thought it was weird to go to someone's house for dinner and demand they not cook their traditional food, but that's beside the point. You're right, but you knew what he meant, though. Like, you knew what he meant, and you could have just been like, oh, you could have just corrected him, first of all, and said, well, it's not Indian food, it's Bengali food. And then, like, I don't know, just been like, that's just what we do. That's what it's going to be served. Like, you know what he meant. You know what I mean? It's like, you're basically, like, lying to him just to like, one-up him, just to, like, own this kid because you don't like him, even though he's 20. I don't agree with doing this, okay? I think you're manufacturing this situation to happen by, like, understanding what the person meant and deliberately, like, being like, oh, well, he's going to be pissed when he finds out that he's going to be eating the food that clearly he doesn't want to eat. And Whatever. On the day of, everyone comes by around 6. We have iftar a little after 7:30 as planned, although BIL didn't really make that smooth either since he was complaining about how hungry he was and why we were eating so late. Seemed fine with the iftar foods, which were some fried foods and halim, which is always like a meat and lentil stew. Then for dinner, we had biryani and a few different types of curry, and that's where the issues started. He again complained that he doesn't like Indian food and asked if he could have more of the stuff from earlier. Problem is, that was all finished. That was all finished? It was all finished? All of the food, all of it was gone? Bro, that's crazy. You asked my mom if, like, you have a bunch of foods. You have some fried foods and halim. You have literally a meat and lentil stew. First of all, you're breaking a fast, okay? You're breaking a fast, so there's going to be a lot of food. And you're like, okay, so for the first course, like, I don't know, he doesn't want that. I don't think that's a big deal. Like, I think he's making this like a racial issue. Like, oh, he called it Indian food, even though it's not. And that's like the big problem that he has with this. Because if he was just like, oh, well, I'd rather have something else. I mean, he could have brought his own food. I'm sure somebody's going to make that point. I don't think it's all that rude if you're like, well, I don't know. I don't like curry. I don't know. Is it all that rude? I'm not gonna be the one to say it. Like, I don't have food issues is the thing. I'll eat anything, honestly. It's not a situation that I find myself in a lot, but I don't think it's a big deal. I feel like he's making this into a way bigger deal than it is. Because I feel like if this happened to somebody, like, I don't know, if this happened to me at like a party or something, and there was some guy and he was like, well, I don't really like this types of food. It'd be like, okay, well, like, go eat something else. Like, go order a pizza or something. Like, fuck. Like, are there other kids here? Like, other kids sometimes don't like maybe the kids are like, oh, I only eat chicken fingers and pizza. If it's like not food they're accustomed to eating a lot of the time. You might have a kid that's like wants to eat something else. What are you gonna do in that situation? You're just gonna like force them to eat it? Like, oh, you have to eat this. We have to eat it this way. Anyways, problem is that was all finished, so he asked my mom if she could just make more. I wasn't going to let her do that. I wasn't gonna let her do that. What do you mean? If she's okay with doing it, why is it up to you to be like, no, Mom, you're not doing that. He's a little shit and I hate him. Cooking all day, so I said no. He got annoyed and basically sulked for the rest of the night and then later texted in the group chat that I lied. His parents agreed that I didn't lie, but that I knew what he meant. Yes, you did know what he meant. You did, and should have asked my parents to be more accommodating to their guests. I would have just been like, he might not want to eat this, so, like, if you want to, like, make like a side dish. If you don't want to, whatever, but we'll just let him know that that's the only food that's going to be there. And because he's 20 fucking years old, if he doesn't want to eat it, he can bring something else. Like that's the issue here. It's like you are kind of like creating this sort of bullshit situation where everybody's just pissed off. This is very manufactured, and you did purposefully create this problem that shouldn't have been a problem. It wouldn't have been a problem. It wouldn't have. Like, you're trying to, like, one-up this you're trying to, like, own this kid. Like, you clearly don't like him. Like, I can tell. Or else why would you even bother? If you liked him, I bet you would have accommodated for him. I bet you would have. But no, you clearly don't like him. More accommodating to I fired back that they've never even bothered to get halal meat when inviting my parents over. And last time, all they could eat was bread and mashed potatoes. Okay, well, that's like a complete, like, what, did you, so what are you saying? You're saying you did this as retribution? Like, oh, well, it's really your fault. You guys are the assholes. Because you didn't get us the meat that we wanted. Oh my God, bro. What is going on? Everybody's an asshole now. I need to know the specifics of this situation in order to judge if they're being assholes, really, because this is a very vague statement. This happened over a week ago. My parents invited them over for, I don't know this one, Eid, which is tomorrow, and he said no. And then blames me for tricking him last time. Yeah, it makes sense. My wife doesn't like her brother very much, so she's on my side for the most part. Yeah, I mean, you guys don't like the brother. I get that. I understand. You guys are, but thinks I was harsh with her parents who don't know much better. Her parents don't want to come if their son doesn't. He is demanding an apology before he agrees to come. Am I the asshole? You're kind of an asshole. Yeah, you're kind of an asshole. Like, this situation was very avoidable, and you decided that you wanted this to happen. Like, you wanted this to happen. No. What did Reddit say? Not the asshole. It is extremely rude to go to someone's home and complain about the food that is served. If he had that much of a problem with it, he could have brought his own food. Idiot. He literally says in the post that he basically lied to the kid and told him there wasn't going to be Indian food there. Did you read the post? Reddit pisses me off sometimes, man. He could have brought his own food, but he had to have known. I have a hard time telling if brother-in-law is super racist or if he's just a little racist because he doesn't like the food? Because he doesn't like Indian food? He's a racist? I'm going to blow a gasket here, man. This is what I'm talking about. I hate Reddit. God, I hate Reddit so much. This is why I don't go on this stupid platform. Not the asshole. He sounds racist, or at the very least culturally insensitive. I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say culturally insensitive. He just doesn't like the food. What? I can't believe people actually have this take. That's insane. All right, well, I feel like I said enough about this. This is a really ridiculous situation that this guy is completely at fault for. Like, he completely caused this to happen. He wanted this to happen. He knew it was going to happen. He set it up so that it would happen. It happens. And then he's like, am I the asshole for basically causing this to happen even though I hate my brother? Like, yes. Yes, you are. Like, I get it. It's annoying if somebody, like, comes to your house and they're like, oh, I don't like the food that you make. I don't like the food. It's annoying. It can be kind of rude. But, like, don't lie to him. Don't lie to him. Tell him, like, what the food's going to be. If he asks what the food's going to be, and you lie and you say, well, it's not going to be what you think, and then he comes and it is what he thinks, you're just a liar. And then you're lying about being a liar. Technically, I was telling the truth because you used the wrong word. Oh, I'm upset. This post set me off, dude. I can't stand passive aggression, man. I can't stand it. It's like, if you got a problem with somebody, just be like up front and be honest. Don't just like do shit like this where it's like you're just setting off bombs everywhere. You're just like causing conflict to happen just because you want it to happen and you want it to not be your fault. You want it to be their fault every time. So you like do shit like this so it's their fault. But it's not. It's your fault. All right, I'm leaving this one. Am I the asshole for refusing to go into Hooters for my brother's 18th birthday party and sitting in the car? I'm 14 female. First of all, I don't know if you should share that information on the internet if you are a person under 18. I don't think you should be sharing that. For sure. And just last week, my older brother turned 18. He's at college Also, like, a lot of problems with people that are, like, under the age of 18 are very, like, petty, small, like, who cares problems, Where it's like, you think it's a big deal, and it's really, like, obviously not a big deal at all. He's at college a few hours away, so my mom, dad, and I got in the car to meet him and give him presents. And yeah, I crocheted him a Pikachu. Nobody talked about what we were eating for dinner ahead of time. Or I just wouldn't have gone. Gone. Well, when we got there, I shouldn't criticize them. Teenagers in a bad grammar. When we got there, my dad kept asking if my brother wanted to go to Hooters. I'm going to be honest and just say that it made me feel really uncomfortable. For those of you that don't know, Hooters is a chain restaurant where the whole point is to gawk at all the waitresses who are all hot girls wearing white shirts and little orange shirts. I don't know, is that the whole point? Some people just, yeah, like it's part of the point, but they do serve food. You can get food there. I don't know. I know a lot of people that actually like Hooters food, but I also know a lot of people that are like, Hooters, yeah, food sucks. And I don't want to look at women. It made me feel really, really uncomfy, and bad. So I said that they could go inside, and I looked and saw there was a bookstore like 5-minute walk away, so I'd go there instead because I did not want to go. My dad got pissed off and started screaming at me that if I had a problem, I could sit in the car. So I said, okay, I'll just sit here. He snatched my phone and screamed that I wouldn't need my phone to sit here. I said, okay. They went in, and about 20 minutes later, my mom came out to ask me to go inside with them, and I said, no, I don't want to go there. After they dropped off my brother, he screamed at me for my actions. I feel like this is probably a little exaggerated. She's claiming everybody's screaming at her. She's just sitting in the car for, 20 minutes? Like, how long altogether? After they dropped off my brother, he screamed at me for my actions. I low-key thought my mom would get it. When we got home, she told me that I should have just gone in because it was not that big a deal. I kind of agree with the mom, to be honest. It's really not that big of a deal. Like, it's kind of, like, I don't know. Like, it's weird, for sure, for his 18th birthday to, like, take him out to Hooters. I don't know. Like, I get it. It seems... I think maybe that in and of itself is not that weird. I don't think I'd want to go on my 18th birthday with my dad if my dad was like, hey, we're going to Hooters for your 18th. I'd be like, why? I'd be like, this is weird. Dad, I think you want to go to Hooters. This is not a place for me. It really, though, it isn't that big a deal. I don't, it's not personally like a place I would go to on my own, but I've gone with friends and stuff, and it's like, yeah, whatever, who cares? It is a little weird when you're like, you're bringing your 14-year-old daughter and like your mom. You know, it's just like a weird situation altogether. I told her that it felt really gross to go to a restaurant just meant for gawking at women with my dad and brother. Kind of agree. That if my dad wanted to perv out like that, he should have just gone with my brother. She said that sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do, which, yeah, I get that, but I figured that applied more to stuff like having to do homework or babysit my mom's friends' kids. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You're right. Going to Hooters with your dad and brother does sound like a gross time. Not necessarily. It's just weird. It's just like an awkward interaction. I wouldn't have wanted to go either. It's not a family restaurant. They have a target demographic, and you're not it. Your dad's reactions are way out of line. It's borderline abusive. I'm sorry. You may want to talk to your school counselor about his actions. Shut up. Holy fuck. This is what I don't like about Reddit, is how over the top people are on this. They just go to the most extreme, like, possibility. Your dad sounds like he might be an abusive piece of shit. And I definitely think you should call the police and report him to Child Protective Services. And you should get yourself liberated from that household. Like, Jesus, it's like, what are you reading here that is like that intense, man? I'm not seeing that. Honestly, OP, it would be so hilarious if you tell the school counselor and bring your father in so he can explain why he was trying to force you to go to Hooters. Would that be so hilarious? That would be so hilarious if you did that, OP. Let him try to justify. He doesn't have to justify his actions to the school counselor. That's not gonna happen. Like, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. What do you guys think the school counselor is gonna do? He's just gonna be like this is not his jurisdiction. It's for you to be like, my dad wanted me to go to Hooters, and I didn't want to go. What do you think's gonna happen from you saying that? Like, Jesus, you guys are stupid, I think. Anyways, all right. Am I the asshole for being annoyed that my partner came to the opera in gym attire and ate during the play? Came to the opera in gym attire and ate during the play. I mean, normally I would say no. No. I would say no for being annoyed. You're not the asshole, obviously. But it depends on the circumstances. And I would also say if you invited him to the opera and maybe he was very adamant about, like, not wanting to go at all and you kind of, like, dragged him there, I could see it as being, like, your fault. That's about the only way I could justify that, maybe. Due to a project we recently did at work, my colleagues told me we can get free opera tickets with a +1. Due to a project we recently did at work, my colleagues... Okay. I was really excited since I love opera and asked my partner to join me. He told me he would join after the gym and we will meet on the spot. So we meet at the location. He's wearing gym stuff, sports shorts, and a sports vest. He joked how it is probably too snobbish of a place for it. And he took a pair of jeans with him and a shirt, but he doesn't really want to bother. Okay, so first thing to note is he is aware. It definitely seems like he's aware that, like, he should be dressing nicer, which is already, that's kind of a red flag. I was going to be like, well, what if he doesn't know? What if he doesn't know he's supposed to dress nice for the opera? But it seems like he does. Now, since I was a small kid and we went to the theater with my school or parents where I'm from, theater, opera, ballet tickets are super cheap for school kids. It is very common school activity to go with your whole class. I knew that it is basic common sense. Okay. Can we hang on a second here? You had to qualify your statement when you said, I know that it is basic common sense to look decent, but you had to qualify why you knew that, which you wouldn't have to do if it actually was basic common sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to be like, because we went to the theater when I was a kid all the time, opera, ballet. I know that it's common sense to look decent at such places. But it's like, okay, but you know that because you went to the theater as a kid. Like, what if he didn't? What if he didn't go to the theater as a kid? Then then what you're saying basically is that he wouldn't know this because that's why you know this. And therefore it is not basic common sense. Okay? Let's just make sense when we speak, when we say things. If you have to qualify it, it's obviously not basic common sense. I'm no fan of fancy overdressing myself, and my partner knows it. However, is it not okay to expect at least plain jeans and not sweatpants? And not to talk loud, eat, or drink during the live performance on stage. Okay, so I don't know what the point of this paragraph was because it seems like from the first paragraph, she's saying that he did know this, that he did know that you're supposed to dress nice, which is fine. It sounds like his impression is that, like, he's like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to do this, but, like, what are they going to do if I don't? Like, who gives a shit? What are they going to kick me out? I don't know. I might be characterizing him a little too hard beyond, like, what his actual characterization is. Maybe he's just lazy, I guess. He brought this stuff with him, though. It's like he did bring a pair of jeans and a shirt, but he doesn't really want to bother. I don't know what that means. Like, how, like, to what extent? Like, are you like, you should definitely wear that? And he's like, nah. And you're, like, insisting. And he's like, nah. It's like, what? It's just odd that he would bring it along, but be like, oh, I'm not going to bother. I don't know. So seeing all the actually nicely dressed people arriving to the venue, my partner annoyingly said that I would probably want him to wear the jeans, and now we have to find a place for him to go change, even though he's not so keen on it. I was relieved and did not want to argue, so I did not say much about it, and we had to go around the corner for him to change. What a weird series of circumstances. My partner annoyingly said that I would probably want him to wear the jeans. What do you mean? You do want him to wear the jeans. What are you saying annoyingly? Like you said it sarcastically? Ugh, you're probably going to want me to wear the jeans. Now I have to go change. It's like, that is the situation, yes. That's what you want. What are you complaining about? It's like the way he said it was really annoying. It's like he's literally doing what you wanted him to do. I don't understand. I don't understand why you would be peeved about that. I was relieved and did not want to argue. The first act was so the first act was good, and we went to get some snacks in the break. So he did change and he did wear nice clothes, but due to the long queue, we did not have the time to eat them. Okay, you can bring them back into the theater. So we came back to our places. My partner sits between me and my colleagues, and with my side vision, I see him taking the food out. Now, as I mentioned, we are adults in our late 30s, and as far as I'm concerned, I do not have to tell a 35-plus-year-old adult basic etiquette. But I had a bad feeling about it, so I turned to him and whispered, "Don't." He laughed, and I was relieved, thinking he was just doing a weird joke or whatever. 30 seconds with my side vision, I see him eating the snacks. I was absolutely mortified and speechless. I poked him with my elbow, but he just kind of laughed and ignored me. Ready to melt through the floor from embarrassment. I cannot believe I am seeing a grown-ass person eating during an opera, and even worse, that being my partner right next to my colleagues who invited me here. Now, hold on a second here. I've been to a lot of, like, fancy, theater performances. I don't think I've ever been to an opera, so I don't know the level of swank that is here. I don't know. But, like, if they have, like, concessions and they allow you to buy the food during the break, like, it's pretty normal to eat that food in the theater. If they let you bring the food back into the theater, that's not, like, abnormal at all. Now, I would say it's a little rude if you're, like, wait till, like, a really silent section and you hear some guy munching on potato chips. It's like, yeah. Like, maybe wait until there's, there's more going on. But it's like, I don't know. It's really not that big a deal. It's, like, extremely common to buy snacks and eat them during the performance. That's not even... I don't know. And I would assume that's fine just because, like, that is literally the situation. It's usually, like, an intermission is, like, maybe, like, 15 minutes at most. And it's like, yeah, that happens every single time, is like there's a long queue because it's literally everybody in the theater going to the concessions at the same time. So, of course, like, you're going to have people halfway through the line. Those people aren't going to have time to eat the food before the thing starts. So you're gonna have a bunch of people that just bought food and then have to go back right into the theater and have not had time to just completely, like, devour a bag of chips. It's like, it's common. I think usually they sell, like, pretty quiet food. Like, I don't even think it's bags of chips usually. It's, like, stuff that is generally more quiet, like chocolate-covered peanuts or, like, gummy bears or, like, those, like, chocolate pretzels, which are kind of loud, but not super loud. But it's like this person's not even complaining about the sound. Like, she's just saying he's eating during the performance, which is, like, who cares? Who gives a shit? It sounds like, to me so far, she's being, like, really uptight. And she's also, like, complaining about stuff that, like, doesn't matter. It's like you initially complained that he came to the opera in gym attire, but then he literally did change. And it's like, you're like, yeah, but he was like, sarcastic about it. He didn't want to do it. It's like, yeah, but he did it. Like, I don't know. I have to be there, I guess. But it's like, maybe he's just joking with it. Maybe he's just like, I don't know. I don't know the exact intonality of that. But, like, sounds like you kind of don't like your boyfriend. You're just, like, pissed off at him for just this one interaction because you expected him to be a different person for some reason. I don't know. Like, maybe you just don't like your boyfriend, Like, maybe, I don't know if he thinks he's really doing anything wrong, or if he just thinks he's, you're just kind of, like, playfully mad at him for, lacking some level of class. But so far, I don't see anything wrong with what he's done. He's literally done everything you wanted him to do, except that you were mad at him now for eating food in the theater because you think there's something wrong with that. Even though I don't see what's wrong with that. A few minutes later, also you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed of him because of the colleagues. You're like, well, they're gonna be so. They're not gonna think. They're gonna think I'm a loser because my boyfriend's a hillbilly. Like, who cares? A few minutes later, my partner leaned to tell me something, but I was still burning from shame and anger. Did not reply, so he asked, is it about the food, and then rolled his eyes, sighed loudly, and stopped talking to me. Dude, I kind of, that is kind of rude on one hand. On the other hand, I kind of get it. Because you are being ridiculous. You are genuinely being ridiculous. I could not enjoy the rest of the opera at all, and when my colleagues gathered to discuss it afterwards, I was still feeling too embarrassed to excuse myself and left as soon as possible. Like, this is crazy. Like, you are way too, like, I feel like you're imagining a problem that, like, nobody actually has. You're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, and my colleagues are gonna think so badly of me, and it's like they just went out, like, none of them complained. They went out to discuss the opera, and you got embarrassed and left for no reason. Like, you are the one just being annoying here. You are the one that's, like, being very over the top about everything. A lot of shit that doesn't seem to matter at all. My partner caught up with me outside and was annoyed at me being so stuck up about such a petty thing. Okay, well, if he said that, that's kind of a rude way to word that. Being so stuck up about such a petty thing. According to him, it was dark and he wasn't sitting direct in front of the stage, so who cares? It is okay. I assume we're talking about eating the food, which I kind of agree with that. I mean, I don't see the problem with the food. I don't get that. I'm like, I don't understand your problem with the food thing at all, so I don't care about this sentence. I'm just going to disregard it because he's kind of right. He probably shouldn't have worded this so poorly. Being so stuck up about such a petty thing. I mean, it is like, it seemed like somewhat important to you, and that's kind of a rude way to put that. So, I definitely wouldn't have said that in such a way. I told him it is about how far he sits. I told him I assume they meant not. I told him it is not about how far he sits. It is common sense to not do such things in a theater, and he rolled his eyes, told me there's no such rule, it is not written anywhere, and that I'm making up some imaginary rules just to go at him. This I so far agree with. Like, what are you talking about? There's no such rule. It's common sense not to eat in a theater. That's bullshit, first of all. It's super bullshit. You did just make that up. That's not true at all. I really cannot wrap my head around this, so I started questioning my sanity. Wrap your head around what? You did just make up that rule. You just, like, it's common sense not to do that. But it's like, says who? Like, what do your sanity is affected by this line of reasoning? He also told me that in his opinion it is me who has a problem. I should discuss it with my therapist. That I care too much what people think. Oh, bro. God, I'm kind of with him on that, though. I feel like you do care too much about what people think. This is a very harsh way to put it, though. Take it up with your therapist. I'm in therapy for different reasons. He was actually the one who encouraged me to start therapy in the first place. Okay, well, it seems like he's encouraging you again to keep doing therapy. But, like, it's a problem now? I mean, it is not just about what people think. As an artist myself, I find it insanely rude, uncultured, and disrespectful, both to the actors and people next to you, to bring food to the theater and eat it. He didn't bring the food. Did she say... We went to get snacks. We did not have the time to eat them. He didn't bring the food. He literally bought it in the theater. And also, you say you don't care what people think, but all of these are like ways in which you relate to other people. Like, oh, you're being rude to other people. And so it would be that they think you're being rude. Else you wouldn't be being rude if they didn't think you were being rude. They literally have to think that. Uncultured is, again, just another thing that it's like you do care if people think you're uncultured. Because uncultured isn't something you would, like, qualify. how do you put that? It's like you only care if you care. It is kind of just being like, I don't know, higher class, upper class, you know. There yeah, it's not like it again, it's another thing that is like how you appear in relation to other people. Disrespectful it's the same thing. It's the same thing. These are all like adjectives describing like how other people view you. So it is that you're worried about what people think. You can absolutely eat food during the live performance. This is nonsense. I hate that she keeps bringing this up as if like this is like a serious problem. We came here specifically for this live event. Can you really not wait for like an hour? There's literally nothing wrong with that. Am I the asshole for being angry and disappointed with the whole experience? Yes. It sounds like he's punishing you for going. Only a complete ignoramus wouldn't know the basic etiquette, at least by observation. Seems intentional to me. Bro, I can't with Reddit, man. What are you talking about? She made up this basic. There's no basic etiquette that she's like being reasonable about. What's the etiquette? Not eating in a theater? Not dressing up? It sounds like he knew that he was supposed to dress up, and he was just kind of being like a little coy about it, you know? Like I don't know. It didn't sound like he really put up that much of a fight, or he like made a big stink about it. Like, I can't believe you're making me change. It just sounded like he made like a joke about it and being like, oh, you're probably gonna want me to change, huh? And then he did it. So like, there's no problem there. And then the other problem is just like eating food during live performance, which is not at all like like something you're not allowed to do in a theater. Of course you are. Of course you can eat in the theater. Like, yeah, it's annoying if it's like I don't know, if it's a very silent sort of toned down performance and you're eating like a bowl of popcorn and you're like fucking munching it all over the place and you're spitting out the popcorn and on the backs of every person in front of you. It's like, yeah, that's a little rude. But like, if you're just eating, there's literally nothing wrong with that. Oh, I can't. The thing that bothers me most about these comments are just like, this is the top this is like the number one upvoted comment, and it's like it's stupid. It's fucking stupid. Like the shittiest take possible. I'm sorry. You're saying nothing. You're just like parroting what her like bullshit that she's spouting. I think it's more that he's punishing her for making him come with her. Based on what? How, in what way is he punishing her? After the way he behaved, I'm sure he doesn't expect her to invite him anytime soon. In his mind, he won't. Now you're just making up a straw man. Now you're just being like, oh, he's this type of person. And I'm gonna say he's worse because now I've characterized him as an even worse person in my mind. Ugh. I don't think so. He seems to have a chip on his shoulder about snobs. This is such garbage. You guys are reading into shit that's not there. Yeah, it's not written anywhere because people know how to dress and behave in public. What a knuckle dragger. What did he do that was wrong? As others have said, you are not the asshole who's trying to show you something. Don't invite me to these things. I can't believe this person is going to post this shit, and they're going to come out of it with a bunch of people that are like, yeah, you were totally right and reasonable, and that your story made sense, and he's a piece of shit asshole, and you should break up with him. Like, fuck, man. I can't. I thought I would come here and at least have some normal people. I didn't think it would be this bad. God, it is so bad here. I hate it here. Can I leave? I'm done with this. We'll do one more, and then I have to leave, because this, like, genuinely upsets me. Should I let it upset me, or should I just be like, oh, it's okay. They're just, everybody knows that people on Reddit are stupid, and we can laugh at them. Because they're all, like, 14, and they don't have any actual life experience. God damn. I'm losing my mind. Okay. Am I the asshole for telling my mom she lets her in-laws, I assume, stay at my dad's my cabin, /my cabin, and needs to own it instead of blaming me. Telling my mom she let her in-laws stay at my dad's my cabin and need to own it instead of blaming me. My dad bought a cabin before he married my mom. It became a family place for us when he married my mom and they had me. And when he wrote his will, he left the cabin to me, not my mom. But my mom helps look after it in the meantime. Hold on, this is going to be really confusing to read. Okay, he left the cabin to me, not my mom, but my mom helps look after it in the meantime. But full ownership goes to me when I, 16 male, turn 18. My dad died when I was 7, and my mom remarried when I was 10. My mom has 2 kids with her current husband, 6 female and 3 male. Okay. When my mom got engaged, found out she was pregnant, she asked me if it would be okay with the cabin remaining, if I would be okay with the cabin remaining for the family, including her husband and new baby. She wanted to keep us as the family vacation spot, but said if I would turn around once I owned it completely. Said I didn't want her husband and new kids to be there, then she wasn't going to ruin any memories for them or cause them some heartache by bringing them knowing they would no longer be able to go in a few years. Okay, that was a very confusing, long, run-on sentence that I hated you for writing. I told her I wouldn't want them to use it and wouldn't let it be used by her new family. She told me they were our family, not just hers. She saw I still didn't want to let it be for them as well, so she never took them there. Okay. All sounding completely reasonable so far, especially if she qualifies it herself by saying, well, if you don't want us to go, I don't want to let them go, and then tell them they can't go in a few years. I feel like obviously she wanted to be able to use the thing, but she wanted to kind of be like, but I also wanted to keep using it beyond when you turn 18. Like, I want to keep using it. So, it would be nice if you would let me do that. Yeah, okay. Before Christmas, my mom let her sister-in-law and family stay in the cabin because they lost their house. Ever since then, my half-sister has been asking questions about it and wondering why she never goes there. My mom told her it was mine, and she looked after it for me until I was an adult, and she wanted the family to be safe. So then my half-sister is asking when we're all going to go and why we don't ever stay there and how she wants to see it. My mom asked me if I had changed my mind yet, and I said nope, so mom was trying to make my half-sister less upset about it, but she would ask questions once a week about the cabin and said she wanted to visit. This pissed off my mom's husband, who said it was ridiculous that a cabin was owned by the family and they couldn't use it. He said it around me once, and I told him it's not owned by the family, it's owned by me. My mom is now blaming me, saying it put everyone in a bad... Everyone is just so pissed at this 16-year-old. Oh, they're being all passive-aggressive around him. He's the 16-year-old kid. It's like, ugh, it's kind of weird that, like, we own this cabin and, you won't let us use it. Timmy? My mom is now blaming me, saying, well, Jim, this is actually my home. I own it, not you. My mom is now blaming me, saying it put everyone in a bad position because her in-laws stayed there, but she can't bring the kids. I told her that wasn't my fault, that she was the one who offered the cabin all by herself, and I had no say in it. She told me it was the right thing to do, and the right thing to do now would be to accept that my family has changed and let them all enjoy the cabin. I told her I can't stop her for the next 2 years, but it's not going to be used once I take full control. Mom and her husband both told me that wasn't the correct way to behave. They said I made my half-sister upset by letting her aunt, uncle, and cousin stay. I told Mom she let them stay, not me, and she needs to own it instead of blaming me. They were mad that it implied I would have refused to let them stay, and that... They were mad that it implied I would have refused to let them stay, and that I don't see how my actions are the root problem and everything. I'm not the asshole. Alright, I'm very confused about this story. For one, you're not really giving much reason that you don't want them to use it, except that you're worried they will keep using it. I guess maybe his concern here is that he's concerned that he's basically promising that once he turns 18, if he lets them use it now, then he's basically promising them that they can keep using it after he's turned 18, after he takes ownership of it, and that he can't, like, go back on that. I think that's where we're going with this. I think that's his worry. And that's why his last sentence is saying, they were mad that it implied I would have refused to let them stay, and that I don't see how my actions are the root problem and everything. So I don't think in the future he's saying like, oh, I would have let you guys stay, but it's just like I don't want to like promise you that now before I take ownership of it that you can keep using it forever. You know, this is mine and I can do what I want with it. So I'm not going to promise all of that in advance. And if you're saying that like, oh, it wouldn't be fair if we used it now unless we could keep using it, like that's the central issue. I guess he has a problem with that specific line of reasoning, even though she literally took them there, and so that's completely like invalidated. But I don't know. It also sounds like to me there's a lot of confusion here that can just be addressed by like communicating here. I feel like there's communication that could be happening, and it seems like I don't know. From their perspective, it seems like you're just blatantly like telling them they can't use it whenever they want, or they can't really use it at all as a vacation home. That seems to be, I think, their understanding of it. When your understanding of it is not that's not the problem. It's like you're fine with them using it, but you don't want to guarantee that for life. And I feel like that could be communicated better through like communication. I feel like there's a misunderstanding here that like they're thinking you're being much more of an asshole and being like really possessive and like, you know, you don't own it yet. You will own it, but for now it's just like sitting there and you're being like, no, you can't use it, and they don't know why you're not letting them use it. You know, like I don't know. I don't think you're being an asshole, but I do think you're being, you know, you're not being an asshole. You just need to be like there's proper communication that I think needs to happen here. Like I think there's just a miscommunication happening here. Yeah, I already know what like Reddit's gonna say. I'm gonna predict the comments. The comments are just gonna be like, no, your dad said it was yours. They don't get to use it. You could say whatever you want. It's yours. Fuck them. They're being assholes trying to take your property. Like they're gonna go extreme with it. Like it's literally gonna be like that. Not the asshole. Your mom only respected and asked for your input when she thought you'd agree with her. When you didn't, she just decided to ignore it and then guilt you when she made problems for herself. She didn't really technically ignore it. Like, no, I think that's like a misreading of the situation. Because the mom literally did not take them there as a family vacation spot. But she let a sister-in-law and family stay in the cabin because they lost their house specifically. Now, this doesn't say anything about whether OP was okay with this, whether he had any say in this whatsoever. But specifically, she didn't go back on her word because what she was saying was that she was not going to like use it as a family vacation spot, but only if like they can continue to use it after he turns 18. But this is a completely different situation. They lost their house, they needed a place to stay, and she was like, well, we have a cabin. And I can't really like, I don't know. I don't know the circumstances of that, so I can't really like blame her if like that was a really like difficult situation and she's just like, well, I currently have a cabin that we're not using for now, and like you could stay there. It's a literal home. Like I don't know how desperate the situation was there, you know? So like I could understand out of desperation her like allowing them to use it and just being like, you know, despite what she said before, which is like, I don't want them to know about it because I don't want them to, you know, all of this. It's like, okay, well, you know, who cares about that if we have like this situation? Like that doesn't matter, you know. Let's just let them use the house. They're gonna know about it, but like it's better that they have a house to stay in, right? Than to like not allow them to stay there just because we don't want them to know about it, just because they're not gonna be able to use it in the future. Like I think she was just weighing the options there, and that's just where she landed. I don't know if she discussed it with OP. This doesn't say it really at all that she did or didn't. I don't know. So if to read this situation, she just decided to ignore it and then guilt you when she made problems for herself. I think that's an unfair reading of the situation. And again, I definitely believe that like this ultimately is coming down to like a misunderstanding on the mom's part or that side of the family's part, where they think he's absolutely flat out refusing, that saying that they can't use it, that they won't be. I mean, I guess he is kind of saying that, isn't he? That is kind of what he's saying, but I guess it's the last sentence that makes this really confusing. They were mad that it implied I would have refused to let them stay. Wait, maybe I have to reread this last paragraph. Oh. She was the one who offered the cabin all by herself, and I had no say in it. Okay. So he does clarify that he had no say in that whatsoever. She told me it was the right thing to do, and the right thing to do now would be to accept that my family has changed and let them all enjoy the cabin. Okay, no, all right. I think I blazed over the last paragraph, but she's trying to move past the point. I told her I can't stop for the next 2 years, but it's not going to be used once I take full control. Mom and her husband both told me that wasn't the correct way to behave. They said I made my half-sister and blah, blah, blah. I told them, Mom, she let them stay, not me, and she needs to own it instead of blaming me. They were mad that it implied I would have refused. Oh, okay. I understand what he means by this now. He's saying that, like, because they lost their house, that what he's saying, they're interpreting it as, like, if he had ownership, he would have refused to let them stay in the cabin even though they lost their house. Sure. Okay, I'm misreading this then. That's my bad. So, I guess what then I don't understand now is why doesn't he want to let them use it? Like, I can understand you're taking ownership of it at 18, but, like, do you have a reason that you don't want them to stay in it beyond that? Or are you just saying that, like, you don't want to promise that? And if so, I don't know. It's communication that can happen there. Oh, there is actually some disagreement here in the comments. When you didn't, she just decided to ignore it and then guilt you when she made problems for herself. This does not at all correspond with the fact that she kept her part of the deal and didn't bring the rest of the family there. It also seems she didn't pressure OP's stepfather did. Also very true. But actually it does say my mom is now blaming me, saying it put everyone in a bad position because her in-laws stayed there, but she can't bring the kids. So OP is saying that the mother is pressuring him technically. I don't know. Like, given the situation, like, yeah, I think everybody's right that, like, she did kind of create this situation for herself because you said no, and then she was like, well, but at the same time, I mean, like, I don't know. She should have probably consulted him about the in-laws staying there, but at the same time, I think it was probably one of those situations where it's like, oh, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, right? You know, it's like, maybe she probably thought you were going to say no because you, like, so far, I mean, from my reading of this, you don't seem to have, like, a reason as to why not. I think it's just because he's 16. I think it's like 16 and he's like, man, it's going to be so fucking cool when I have my own cabin in the woods that's just mine. And he like has no idea of the fact that like he's not going to be using it all the time. Like for sure it's just going to be used as a vacation home anyways. And it's like why wouldn't you let your family use it every once in a while if you're not currently using it? You know, unless you plan on living there. It just seems like you don't really understand the situation yet, you know? And I'm sure she sees that you are probably somewhat naive and you're not really thinking about stuff. And so if she asks, like, you're probably going to say no because you're not, like, you don't have a logical reason that you're saying no. You're just saying no every time she asks. So there's no reason behind it. And she's like, well, he's just going to say no, but, like, they have to have a place to stay, so she lets them stay in the cabin. And then she's like, you know, hey, it is kind of stupid that you're, like, you know, like, it's kind of dumb you're not going to be okay with them using it, first of all, that you're, like, not okay with that. And you're like, well, and you're going to continue to be like, no, your family can't use it. Your sister-in-law can't use it. Or half-sister can't use it. Just because you're being weird about it. I don't know. It's like, it's kind of this is kind of split on me. Because I feel like it's definitely like within his rights. Like he is going to own it at some point. And it is his, gonna be at least his say at the end of the day. Who gets to use it and who doesn't. And if he says, no, you can't use it, and they use it anyways, well, you know, they're not allowed to do that. They can't do that. That's illegal. I think at that point it would be illegal. At the same time, let's say he is 18, and he's just like, no, I don't want them to use it, even though I'm not using it most of the time. Would you call that guy an asshole if he's like sitting on this like vacation house, and everybody in the family knows about it? And, like, technically he owns it, but, like, he doesn't use it except in certain months. And they're like, hey, well, you're not using it now. What if we used it? And he says no. Like, I don't know. I feel like you would kind of be an asshole in that situation. Unless you give, like, a good reason. Like, oh, well, I don't let them use it because they literally, like, break stuff in the house every time they use it. Or they, you know, I get complaints from, like, neighbors and some shit, you know. It's like, if there's a reason they can't use it. Otherwise, it's like family. Why would you not allow your family, if they're like nice and polite, to use your cabin when you're not there, unless you like hate them? I don't know. It's a weird story. It's weird to kind of like try to figure this out because he doesn't give any reason. I guess that's my big problem with it. It's like there's no reason here as to why he's not letting them use it, which would be imperative, I think, to me being able to like judge this. Not the asshole. It is your cabin and your mom overstepped it in allowing the sister-in-law to stay there without your permission. Okay, I'm glad maybe I should always read the second comment because this is a good take. To be frank, it actually sounds like it may have been an emergency. I agree. We don't know. They didn't say exactly, but they lost the house. They literally lost their house. And I'm sure the mom was like, you know, fuck it. Like, I could ask him. He's going to say no for sure. Maybe she should have asked anyways. But at that point, like, if she had asked, like, imagine if she had asked and he said no and she allowed them to stay there anyways, then it would be like a, you know, I don't know. Then it would be like a betrayal. Like, then that would be kind of like worse, you know, than to be like, to just kind of forego that. I know it's kind of like a shitty situation. It's shitty thing to like justify, but I could kind of see that where she didn't want to ask because she knew he was gonna say no, and it's like they didn't have anywhere else to stay. Like she wasn't gonna have a choice. Like this was the best option, reasonably, that they had, and that's why she just didn't want to ask. Right? I get it. So he's 16. So unfortunately with like, you know, younger people, it's like you can't expect them to be like to understand life, and like sometimes you got to make sacrifices, sometimes you got to do stuff that you're, you know, you don't want to do, just for the family, the people that you love. You know, you're 16 now, you're gonna be like super edgy, and you're gonna be like, oh well, I hate my family, but you'll appreciate them eventually. You know, you'll get there. You know, and then you'll feel bad about like about that time you told them they couldn't stay in your cabin that you didn't technically own yet because they lost their house. Like, I don't know. I get it. OP does not outright own the house until he turns 18. Also true. Mom doesn't need to honor his wishes at all, but is choosing to. That's the right thing to do in general, but I don't blame her for having access to an empty place and letting someone stay in an emergency. It's also super important to note that Mom seems to be keeping it in good shape. Upkeep and taxes are time-consuming and expensive. I didn't even get into any of that. It's like, yeah, she's literally taking care of the house. It wouldn't kill OP to acknowledge that. He'll figure out what that looks like when he takes ownership for sure, but that mom isn't pointing that out does say she's going out of her way to help OP without expecting anything. I actually think OP needs to lay off a bit here, though he probably doesn't understand exactly how much she's doing for him yet. That's what I'm saying. I feel like he doesn't understand. Like, he doesn't get it. I don't think she's choosing to honor his wishes. Very British way of spelling the word honor. I don't mean anything by that. I'm not trying to make fun of him for being British, but I love when you can tell they're British because they put a U. I think she tried to manipulate a 10-year-old into making a lifelong promise and backed herself. Bro, that's a crazy way to read that. That's how OP is kind of interpreting it in his head. Is like he's thinking about this one thing she said like 6 years ago, and he's like, oh, that's how it is. That's how it is. I let him go once, they're going to want to go forever. I have to let him go forever because I made a promise. Because that's how it's going to be. Like, that's his read on the situation. I don't know if it's like that she was literally trying to manipulate him. I think she was literally being honest and being like, yeah, it would kind of suck if, like, you let us stay there and then, like, you know, once you take ownership to be like, oh, you can't stay there anymore. So she was probably just being like, so maybe you should, you know, let us stay there. Like, I guess that you could argue that's manipulation, sure. I don't think it's that, like, that sounds really, like, it's a really, like, harsh, super negative way to say that, I think. Are these ages, by the way? This person's 30. Is this person actually 18? Because, like, that makes sense. I don't think you understand what you're talking about. Making a lifelong promise and backed herself into a corner. It wouldn't have been a lifelong promise. Absolutely not. But I can see how a 16-year-old or even how a 10-year-old would interpret it that way. And he would remember that until the age of 16 and be like, yes, this is the absolute, I don't know. I don't think she backed herself in. Like, I don't know. This is like a really unfair way to read this, I think. Yes, she started being an asshole when she put that burden on a 10-year. Come on. We're putting way too much credence in this. Like, it's not even that, like, unnecessary, like, you know, weird a thing to say. And, like, she literally did not take them. You know what I mean? It's like, so she said this, and then she never took the kids there. Because she's like, oh, well, it wouldn't be fair if I have to say, well, we can't use it anymore. So she didn't take them there. But then one of them lost a house. The sister-in-law lost a house. And that's why it's not going back on a promise. You know, it's not like, I don't know. Gosh, I don't know. I feel like these are unfair reads of the situation. It's unfair to put so much onto the mom here when she didn't really do anything, like, specifically wrong. I disagree. So many people are disagreeing with, like, the reasonable human being here. Like, this person is a reasonable human being, speaking the truth. I disagree. OP does own this cabin and cannot take control until he's 18. Everybody knows this? Why did you repeat it? Everybody knows this? OP's mom has no ownership to this house. She does, for now. I mean, OP's mom has no ownership to this house, and she clearly thinks she can do as she pleases until OP takes full control. Also, OP's mom's new family was not his dad's family, so the term "it's a family house" is completely wrong. I just don't agree with any of these people. You're legally correct. Mom has no ownership whatsoever. She's merely a trustee while OP is a minor. Mom breached her duty by letting them stay. I don't understand how people don't understand this. Mom doesn't own squat. She's just basically a caretaker until actual owner turns 18. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like, I guess I'm assuming that, like, she legally could, like, are these people saying that, like, she legally wasn't allowed to let the family stay there? And then that would be a legal issue? I don't know. I kind of assumed that, like, yeah, she would have ownership of the house until he turns 18. But these people are saying the opposite, that, like, she's not. She's a trustee. I don't know enough about this. I've never inherited a house, so I don't know. Okay, well, all right. A lot of people are saying, I doubt the taxes are being paid personally, being paid by the trust estate until OP takes ownership. Maybe time to see if the trust can afford to pay hired help and remove Mom as the trustee for breaching the agreement by allowing an unauthorized party to stay there against OP's wishes. This sounds like a situation where Mom takes step-family there anyways and tells OP to go get over it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about it, but yeah, it does sound like if she actually did do that, then it is possibly a legal problem because she doesn't actually own the house. I didn't know. I wouldn't know. I question why OP wants the cabin to stay empty. Agreed. Unless he is moving there full-time at 18, I don't really understand why they wouldn't be able to use it when... I've spent so much time on this one. I'm very invested in this one. Why is it just sitting empty? And then a bunch of people just making up bullshit reasons that they couldn't possibly know. So I'm going to ignore them all. Cool. Because, yeah, unless OP responded, which he didn't, so... Alright. Well, we're done with this. I'm just going to end this recording now. I don't know if I'm going to actually upload this video. Just been bored recently. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought. Goodbye.